Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got our 10 best bets for college basketball here on Saturday, January 25th. We hit the 100 like mark yesterday, so that means 10 best bets for this college basketball Saturday. Now, yesterday, a great day on the channel. I hope you guys didn't start to fade us because a 4-1 day yesterday. I mean, if you bet the money lines 5-0, but yeah, a 4-1 day, a great day. UCLA was covering the entire game for the most part, and then Washington, of course, hits a 3, down by 8 to only lose the game by 5 as the time expires to cover 5.5. But I mean, yesterday was an incredible day, so I hope for the guy who said that he's in his mom's basement now because he lost a bunch of money gambling on my picks, I hope you got out of the basement. Now, I've personally never been in my mother's basement, so believe it or not. So I hope you got out. Again, it's all fun and games in the comments. Again, I don't take any of that seriously. So we've got 10 best bets for today. Again, we had a very good day yesterday, and now we've got 10 of these bets today to look to improve on yesterday. Obviously, a 4-1 day very easily could have been a 5-0 day if one shot didn't go in at the end for Washington. But yes, let's get into it, folks. And before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. It's all I ask y'all to do on the channel. Leave a like and subscribe for more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Also, in a couple hours, we're going to be posting, actually in an hour because it's a Paris game today in the NBA, we're going to be posting our NBA predictions. There are 14 games in the NBA today. That video is over 40 minutes long, so we're going to have that video on the channel along with this one, obviously, that you're watching right now. A lot of bets today, 24 of them in total. And then there's more when you look at the NFL tomorrow. We've got our NFC and AFC championship game predictions. That is in the description down below, along with our PFL Dubai predictions with Usman Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes in the main event. That card is starting literally right now. So if you want to get your picks in, obviously your bets in for that card, I highly suggest you go watch that video right now. Okay. It's a lot of college basketball today, guys. The first of 10, we start with a 9:30 game between the Georgetown Hoyas and the Providence Friars in Providence, Rhode Island. We are going with the Hoyas. This is low-level Big East basketball. Not the lowest of levels, but kind of at the same time because Georgetown lost to DePaul 2 games ago. But I feel much better about picking Georgetown this time around against Providence on the road because they just went to Nova and won. Now, Nova yesterday, obviously, losing against a very good Marquette team. We successfully picked minus 9.5 for Marquette in that game. But now we get Georgetown on the road here against Providence. Guys, I don't think Providence is that good. I just don't think they are. Their wins this year in Big East play are Seton Hall, who's horrible, Butler, who's horrible, and DePaul, who's horrible. They've only beat the 3 worst teams. When they played anybody else, they have lost. And I get it. They've been playing some decent teams in the Big East. We're talking about UConn, Marquette, St. John's. Those are the elite of the elite. Hell, Creighton is elite of the elite as well. And Nova, I would say, is more middle of the pack. But again, those are all very good teams. So they've lost all the teams they're supposed to lose to. And they have... and they beat all the teams they're, I guess, expected to beat as well. Let's see where we find a middle ground here with the Georgetown Hoyas. I feel all right picking Georgetown here. I really do. Georgetown is 4-4 in Big East play. They start Big East play by beating Creighton, beating Seton Hall, beating Xavier. They started off 3-0. They go to Marquette, they lose. They play UConn, lose. Play St. John's on the road, lose. And then they just run to DePaul. Again, you're not going to bat an eye because they lost to Marquette, UConn, or St. John's. But yes, the DePaul loss, it ended DePaul's big losing streak in Big East play. It's bad. But again, the win over Villanova in their last one on the road makes me somewhat confident in picking the Hoyas here. I do feel okay about Georgetown, the best team, obviously, in Washington, D.C. And yes, we are going to get to another Washington, D.C. basketball team in a little bit. But obviously, they're led by the freshman, Thomas Sorber. This is a very good basketball player. He's averaging 14 a game this year. Again, he is just a reliable guy for the Hoyas who's always going to put up numbers. He's averaging 14 and 9 this season. You get Micah Peavy, who's averaging 14 points a game. Jaden Epps, obviously, averaging 13. Malik Mack averaging 13 as well. The Friars, though, again, just a 3-5 team. They've only beat the really bad teams in the Big East, and they don't really have many guys that impress me on this team. I'm just going to be honest with you. Again, Bryce Hopkins has been out since the DePaul win in overtime to start Big East play. So they're relying on guys like Jaden Pierre, Bensley Joseph, Wesley Cardet Jr. I mean, these guys, again, they can play, but there's no real elite guy to lead this Providence team. And really the only reason why Providence is the favorite in this game, I believe Georgetown did open as slight favorites. The only reason why I think Providence has shifted that line, obviously, towards their favor is because the game is in Rhode Island. I think other than that, I do honestly think Georgetown is the better basketball team. I know they went on a little run of losses. I get that. And yes, the DePaul loss looks horrible, but they got right back on track by beating Villanova. Again, don't forget, this is the same team that beat Xavier. They beat Creighton at home this year. Their only they've got 2 road victories actually in Big East play, and that's Seton Hall and it's Villanova. So they've shown capability of going on the road and winning so far this year, and I don't think going to Providence shouldn't be any difference. Again, I just think Providence really struggles to score sometimes. I would expect a very low scoring game in this one, and I get it, Providence dropped 91 in the Seton Hall win, 84 in the Butler victory. But I don't know. I just don't trust this Providence offense. I think Georgetown is able to play a good defensive game in this one. I think the Hoyas are able to go out here and pick up the victory. Again, the line -1.5 for Providence, +1.5 for the Hoyas. So we get Georgetown at plus money to start off the day. This is a nationally televised game on Fox, and I do like the Hoyas to get it. Again, Providence is a team still under 500. Hell, they lost to Davidson earlier this year. They went to URI, lost. Like, Georgetown again 13-6. I get it, they've been underwhelming of sorts recently, but I think the Hoyas again got it back on track with that win over Villanova. They got 24 in that game out of Micah Peavy, their senior, who's averaging 14. I do like Georgetown to go on the road and beat Providence here. We get the Hoyas at plus money, and we're going to take it. Georgetown in our first game of the day at 9:30 on Fox. Give me the Hoyas to go to Rhode Island and take down the Providence Friars. Let's move on to our next game as we go to Terre Haute, Indiana for our 10 o'clock game. I think every single game we're picking today has a different start time because we have an entire day to bet on games, but I wasn't purposely doing this, just this is the way it worked out. We've got the Northern Iowa Panthers going on the road to take on the Indiana State Sycamores. I simply think this is just a levels game in the Missouri Valley Conference, very similar to the games that we got yesterday. Hell, I mean, we got games like this, and I compared the two yesterday when we talked about them, and I'll quickly talk about them again. I mean, we had Bowling Green taking on Toledo. We like Toledo a lot on the road. We just thought, again, Toledo was just the better basketball team. And we had Purdue and Michigan as well. Just both those spots in the -3.5 range. And the other one was Milwaukee. That was an easy bet for us yesterday in the Horizon League. Milwaukee going on the road and winning fairly easily. That's kind of what I think the spot is as well. I think it's, again, more similar to that Milwaukee spot and the spot that we got yesterday with the Toledo Rockets. But this is entirely what this is as well. Northern Iowa going on the road to Indiana State. This is a levels matchup, guys. Indiana State has lost 5 straight games. They have not won a game since January 4th, where they went to Evansville and won. But Evansville is one of the worst teams in college basketball this season. Before the Evansville win, their last victory came against the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy. And then before that, it's their win over Murray State to start off Missouri Valley play, actually their second game in Missouri Valley play. And sure, they won their first 2 games in MVC play this year, beating Missouri State on the road and then beating Murray State. But ever since then, they've won 1 game over another Division I basketball team, and it's Evansville. Evansville sucks. So the losses, Ohio State obviously non-conference, Bradley in overtime, Valpo in overtime, Belmont, Drake, Illinois State in their last game. Indiana State just can't win basketball games right now. And you get UNI here, who's going on the road to take them on. Again, you got Indiana State. The Sycamores are a 3-6 team in the Missouri Valley this year. The Panthers out of UNI are 6-3 in Missouri Valley play, and they've been good this year. I mean, again, they've had their hiccups. They lost to UCI early in the year, but you know how good Irvine is, even with their loss to that cesspool UC Riverside the other day. Irvine's still a good team. They're going to be minimum an 11 seed in the NCAA tournament this year. UNI lost to Wichita State, whatever, North Texas, St. Bonaventure, Wazoo. But as you look again, as they've gone to conference play, they beat UIC and blew them out. They beat Southern Illinois by 11 points, a USI team that's doing all right now. Southern Illinois gives teams problems. Northern Iowa beat Belmont. They go to Valpo, lose to Murray State, but then go to Illinois State and win, beat Evansville by 17 points, lose to Southern Illinois in their next game, which when they went to Southern Illinois, they lost 73-49, and then a win over Missouri State. But Northern Iowa plays really good defense. They shut you down, and I just don't think Indiana State, they're nowhere near the team that they were last year when they made it. They made it far into the NIT, obviously. They're just not the same. Samaj Teal leads this team in scoring and minutes. He plays 33 minutes a night and scores 16 a night on average. And then you get Jaden Daughtry, a guy who averages 13 points a game, but only averages I believe it's 15 minutes a night. I believe his minutes have gone down recently as the season has gone on. But for Northern Iowa, I think they're really able to shut this team down. Again, Teal's your really only guy you're scared about here on the Sycamores. I think if Northern Iowa is able to contain him, I think the Panthers win this one fairly easily. This is a team that's led by Titan Anderson. Their best scorer averages 15 a night. Jacob Hudson averages 12. Trey Campbell with 10. Leon Bond with 10. Again, I think UNI is just the all-around better basketball team, and I do think the Panthers play better defense as well. Again, this is very similar, I think, to our spots yesterday with Toledo on the road, with Milwaukee on the road. I think this is the same exact thing here, honestly. I just think Northern Iowa is better than Indiana State. The only reason the odds are somewhat close is because the game is in Terre Haute, but I simply think just that Northern Iowa is the better basketball team. Titan Anderson is going to be the best player on the court, and as long as UNI is able to find a way to shut down Samaj Teal, I think they'll be okay. Again, this is a guy who was a pretty big-time player last year for Presbyterian. He's only improved since moving to Terre Haute to play for the Sycamores. But I do like UNI a lot in this spot. Give me the Northern Iowa Panthers to go into Terre Haute, Indiana, and beat the Sycamores. They are 3.5-point favorites on the road, and we're going to take that line. Give me Northern Iowa on the road against the Sycamores. To our third best bet of the video, we go now to Washington, D.C. I said we're going to have two D.C. teams today, and we are going to be fading the George Washington Revolutionaries. This game is at 11 o'clock, so we have a 9:30 game, a 10 o'clock game, and now an 11 o'clock game with the St. Louis Billikens going on the road to take on the George Washington Revolutionaries. I'm very surprised George Washington is the favorite in this game. I'm very surprised. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know why George Washington is favored. This is a team that I believe is 2-4 in A10 play this year. They are 3 straight losses to Duquesne at home. They went to George Mason, played a great game at George Mason, but ultimately lost in double overtime, and then went to UMass and lost that game by 13 points. Prior to that, yes, back-to-back victories in A10 play against Dayton in Rhode Island. We had them on New Year's Eve when they went to Richmond. They looked absolutely horrible in that basketball game, scored 61 points and lost. And honestly, that's all we really need to see at a George Washington. They started the season great. They were 11-2. Now they're 13-6. They have struggled mightily in A10 play this year, and they're at home and they're favored over St. Louis. I don't get that. St. Louis is 5-1 in A10 play this year, and their only losses on the road against the best team in this conference in Virginia Commonwealth. That's their only loss when they went on the road to play VCU. Their wins in A10 play, we're talking about Fordham, who, Fordham's not great. They're 0-5, 0-6 in A10 play, but Fordham on the road. St. Joseph's is a team that can kind of get you. St. Bonaventure, a middling team, but not a bad team. Richmond, LaSalle, But George Washington is on that same type of level as Richmond and LaSalle. Hell, again, George Washington lost to Richmond this season, and St. Louis was able to go to Virginia and beat the Spiders this year as well. I do think St. Louis is the all-around better team, and of course, we were talking about the Indiana State Sycamores, so we got to mention Robbie Avila, a guy, again, who was with the Sycamores last year. He was really the star, I would say. Yeah, definitely the star of that Sycamores team in their run into the NIT last year, obviously losing in the MVC championship game to the Drake Bulldogs. But again, this was a very hyped up Indiana State team last year. Their coach goes to St. Louis. Robbie Avila follows him, and Avila's been great this year, averaging 18.5 points a game. Again, I expect if St. Louis makes a run into the NIT, or at least deep into the A10 tournament, or potentially the NCAA tournament, there's going to be a lot of media attention back on Avila. But Gibson Jimerson's been great for this team as well, averaging 17.5 points a game. Isaiah Swope has been great as well with 17 a night. This is a St. Louis team. Yes, they are very top heavy. They are very starting lineup heavy, but this starting lineup can do damage. And I do worry sometimes about the scoring output out of George Washington. They go through so many stretches during their games where they're just not able to score, and they've been missing, they've been missing, the scoring effort out of their best scorer still on the season in Darren Buchanan Jr. Guys, this is a guy who averages 15 points a game. He started off the season pretty much leading George Washington in points every single night. Buchanan has struggled to break 20 since their loss at American University on December 4th. But he started the year, non-conference games, he was dropping 20 every single night. Now, again, it's a struggle for Buchanan to put up 10. Hell, again, the Duquesne loss, he scores 7. The UMass loss on the road, he scores 6. So that's been part of the problem, definitely, for the Revolutionaries, is that Darren Buchanan hasn't been that same guy. Gerald Drumagul has been kind of that consistent scorer for them. I remember watching that Richmond game, and he was the one taking over that one. I believe he scored 27 in that game. Then you get Rafael Castro as well, who is one of their bigs who averages 12 and 9. I think Castro, again, and Drumagul have been their best guys right now, with Buchanan kind of just, faltering as the season has gone on. But this isn't a consistent George Washington team. This is a Revolutionaries team that has struggled to score recently, and a team's just not playing all that well. The Billikens have been much better. You get Robbie Avila, you get a guy in Gibson Jimerson and Isaiah Swope. Those three guys, again, all of them averaging more than 17 points a game. That's a pretty good starting unit just with those three guys, and I don't think the game being in DC makes too much of a difference, just because George Washington has not been playing great basketball lately. I'm very surprised they're favored to win this one. I wouldn't, if I were making the line, I wouldn't do that, but we're going to take St. Louis on the road here, and I know usually, sometimes when the line doesn't make sense, something's up, but we're going to bite. Give me Give me St. Louis to go on the road to DC and take care of business here against the George Washington Revolutionaries. Before we get into the fourth best bet of the video, I do want to acknowledge there are some great basketball games today, but some of these games, like last week, we picked a lot of SEC ball. Guys, I don't feel confident picking a lot of these SEC games today. So like games like Texas A&M going to Texas, I don't know. I'm staying away from it. Texas A&M just got out of a game where they survived at Mississippi, came back from behind and won. I think they beat Texas, but I don't feel confident enough to say that. Hell, Kentucky Vandy, I don't know. I think Kentucky can go to Vandy and win, but I'm going to stay away from that one as well. And the really big game today, Houston and Kansas. Again, I think Houston can go to Lawrence and win, but that's not one of my 10 favorite bets today. So yes, there are some big time college basketball games today. Hell, even WVU going to K-State, Ole Miss going to Missouri. There are big games today. I just don't like those as my 10 best bets for today. Again, there are entertaining college basketball games today, but I just don't think those are the best ways to make money today on college basketball. So we're not going to include them. We are including the game of the day, though. Obviously, it's Tennessee and Auburn. That's coming later on in the video because there's a side I really like in that game. So we'll get to that later. Let's go into our fourth best bet of the video as we move to the Horizon League. The Horizon League's interesting. It really is. And this is a line that really... it doesn't make sense to me. We're still at the 11 a.m. time slot here, and we've got the Oakland Golden Grizzlies going on the road to Moon Township, Pennsylvania to take on the Robert Morris Colonels. Why is Robert Morris only getting one, or why are they only 1.5 point favorites at home here? I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. I get it. Oakland's been winning basketball games. We got to look at who they're beating. Oakland beat IU Indianapolis, not impressive. They beat Northern Kentucky. We just saw them yesterday against Milwaukee, not that great of a team. Detroit Mercy, horrible. And then Purdue Fort Wayne, that's a good victory. That's probably why the spread is where it's at. But I'm surprised Robert Morris is only 1.5 point favorites. I'd expect this to be 4.5, 3.5 for Robert Morris. And I get it, they have the same record in Horizon League play, but I would say Robert Morris's wins are a lot more impressive than Oakland's victories. This team went to Milwaukee and won. Again, we saw how good Milwaukee was yesterday. They're an 8-3 team in the conference. They lost to Cleveland State. Okay, Cleveland State's 9-1 in the Horizon League this year. They did lose earlier in the year to Detroit Mercy, but it is what it is. That's a long time ago at this point. Guys, these two teams played earlier in the season. Robert Morris went to Oakland and beat them by 8 points. We think that's going to change as the game now heads to Moon Township, Pennsylvania at Robert Morris? I don't think so. This team's on a 4-game winning streak. They beat Wright State. They beat Green Bay on the road, which is very easy to do, but still, they go to Milwaukee and win, and they just went to Youngstown State, winning that game on a buzzer beater by Cam Woods. Cam Woods is their best guy, and he delivers in the clutch. Woods averages 15 and 5. He's the leading guy everywhere for the Colonels, and again, that buzzer-beating victory, it was huge to get Robert Morris in the spot now. They're 6-4 in Horizon League play, and after that very successful road trip, again, 3 straight road victories, they return home to play the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, and I really like Robert Morris in this spot. I think they cover 1.5 fairly easily. I think they win the game too at -120. I just take the money line for that matter, but they've got Cam Woods, who's great, and then you get a big and Alvaro Fuligueras. He's a 6'9 sophomore forward out of Malaga, Spain. Probably butchered that. But this dude cleans up on the glass. He averages 13 points a game. He scored 13 or more in his last 4, and he dominates in the glass. This guy averages 10 rebounds a game. That's big for this Robert Morris team. But you get Woods, you get Alvaro, who averages 13. You get Amarian Dickerson, who averages 13. You get Josh Omajafo, who averages 11, and then you get Ryan Prather, who averages 9 as well. DJ Smith averaging 9. Like, there are guys who can score on Robert Morris. And again, we just saw this team beat Oakland a couple weeks ago in Michigan against Oakland. What changes? I get it, Oakland's been winning more recently, but Oakland's still a 9-12 team this season. They weren't all that impressive in non-conference play. We saw them lose against East Michigan at home. Like, they lost to Hawaii. I get it, that was in the tournament in Hawaii, an invitational over Christmas, but still, this team hasn't been all that good. Yeah, they have an impressive victory early in, Horizon League play against Milwaukee, but again, Robert Morris just beat this team. I don't think much changes, especially now that the game is at Robert Morris. That's why, honestly, I was shocked to see these odds, and that's why I was all over this one here for the Colonels. This is an Oakland team that is led by Alan Mukeba, who's averaging 14. Then Tubaru Navilula, I probably butchered that, I'm sorry. He averages 13 as well, averaging 8 boards a game as well. And then you get DQ Cole, averages 10. Malcolm Christie averaging 10 as well. That's fine. But again, I just don't think the Golden Grizzlies match up all that well with Robert Morris. Again, we literally have seen this game before, and Robert Morris won it on the road. What changes now that the game is back at Robert Morris, and Robert Morris just went through a very difficult road trip and swept it 3-0, and on top of that, they beat Wright State ahead of that too. And they went to Oakland and won too. Again, Robert Morris has been really good. They just went 3-0 on a road trip, beating Youngstown, beating Milwaukee, beating crappy Green Bay, sure. But again, they return home now after winning 3 in a row in 5 days on the road. You gotta think they're playing with confidence. You gotta think the momentum is building here for Robert Morris. And again, they're playing a team they have already beat. So it just makes sense that Robert Morris wins this basketball game. Out of all the games we picked so far today, this is the one that I feel the best about out of our first 4. I'm taking the Robert Morris Colonels to win the basketball game here over the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, and they'll cover the 1.5 points at home as well. To our 5th best bet of the video, you knew we had to include them. The Lobos of New Mexico go on the road to Las Vegas, Nevada, to take on UNLV. It is the second half of the Fox doubleheader, obviously, starting with that Georgetown game we talked about earlier in Rhode Island. And now we get the number 1 team in the Mountain West Conference, the New Mexico Lobos, going on the road to UNLV to take on the UNLV Rebels. Now, again, that one loss for New Mexico in Mountain West play is still very confusing. That's the San Jose State Spartans, and we'll get to San Jose State later in the video. Yeah, I know, we're picking another San Jose State game. We'll see. But anyway, I'm not going, by the way. I've been to one San Jose State game. It was the game that they beat New Mexico. That's the best it's going to get in San Jose this year. I'll stick to going to Santa Clara basketball games. Regardless, New Mexico, if we take away the San Jose State game, if we forget about it, they're great. Okay, I don't think one road loss in San Jose at the Providence Credit Union, whatever the hell arena, I don't think that means they're just bad on the road. We've seen them go to Fresno and win. I was at that game too. We saw them go to Colorado State and win. They've been fine. It's just that one game against San Jose State was odd. Nelly Jr. Joseph got into foul trouble early. That's when Mustafa Amazil was in the midst and just the prime of his shooting slump, where he literally couldn't get anything going for him. That game was included in it. He's been much better in the last 2 games against Boise and against Fresno. Just things were not going the right way for the New Mexico Lobos at that point in the season. They have bounced back since. They went back to the pit. They went back to Albuquerque, and they won back-to-back basketball games. And I feel way more confident in New Mexico, a team that I think is going to get an at-large in the NCAA tournament if they don't win the Mountain West. I think this is a very good basketball team. I think they are. And we give all the credit in the world to Donovan Dent. Dent's a scorer. He's a finisher. Averages 19 points a game and 7 assists a game as well. The team wouldn't be where they're at without Donovan Dent, and without Nelly Jr. Joseph as well, who is dominant on the glass. He's a guy who they can rely on to score as well. He's a guy who averages 13 and 10. True Washington, a very good guard, a very good shooting guard for them as well. And CJ Noland as well. I mean, this is a all-around really good New Mexico team. It's primarily an 8-man rotation, obviously, with Pitino coaching, but I like the Lobos a lot. I really do. Going on the road to UNLV here, a UNLV team that just lost to Wyoming at home by 2 points. And yes, we are going to get to the Wyoming Cowboys when they go to San Jose State later today, but They lost to Wyoming at home. They went on the road, beat San Diego State, which is a confusing result. They beat Utah State at home, another confusing result. Prior to that, though, they went on the road, losing to Boise, losing to Colorado State. Again, when I think they played the better teams in the conference, which is... They beat Utah State, though, which is just odd. So they play the best team in the conference, the New Mexico Lobos. I don't think they're going to be able to win. I kind of want to still say Boise's elite, but is Boise elite no more? I don't know. But UNLV did go to Boise, Idaho, and they lost that basketball game. So my point being, I think New Mexico's too good of a team for UNLV. I think they're too good of a scoring team for UNLV, too, because UNLV does have games where they just can't score. We're talking about Denton Thomas, who averages 16 a night, Jaden Henley, who averages 12, Jalen Bedford averaging 10 as well. It's just everyone on this UNLV team, all their first names start with the J. That's crazy, except for Denton Thomas, Jaden Henley, Jalen Bedford, Jeremiah Cherry, Julian Rishwain, Jalen Hill, Jace Whitting. They're all, wow, that's crazy. Anyways, I like New Mexico here. They're 3.5-point favorites on the road. It makes sense. It makes sense they're favored by that much. Again, this is the best team in the Mountain West Conference this season, and I fully believe it. I was expecting Boise to be kind of there, but I just saw New Mexico beat them by 19 points. Boise's now, 5-4 in the conference. I think Utah State's probably the second best team, but they lost to UNLV, so I don't know. Again, yeah, you could make the case, New Mexico lost San Jose State. I get it. But the Mountain West is brutal, man. It's a gauntlet. Other than Fresno and Air Force, it just is. And Fresno's way better than Air Force, too. We picked that game successfully a couple weeks ago, or at least last week, actually. I like New Mexico here, though. We like Donovan Dent. We like Nelly Jr. Joseph. Mustafa Amazil. We got to get that shooting going, pal, and it's getting better. So I like New Mexico here on the road. I don't think UNLV's able to keep up. I get it. UNLV, again, was able to win at home against Utah State and beat Colorado State as well. I think it was Colorado State they beat, right? I think so. No, they lost Colorado State. It was San Diego State on the road. Still, it's just a different game when you play New Mexico. And again, UNLV's coming off that loss to Wyoming. They were at home and lost to the Wyoming Cowboys. Come on now. Give me New Mexico on the road to go into Las Vegas and take down the UNLV Rebels, and they will cover the 3.5 points as well. Going on to our sixth best bet of the video, we had to take a quick look at the Big Ten Conference and a spot I'm going to take. I'm just come on now. This is the perfect, it's a buy low spot on Oregon, and it's a buy high spot on Minnesota as well. Okay? Oregon coming off the Purdue loss last Saturday. I know they beat Washington in between, but anyone can beat Washington, so who cares? But coming off of the Purdue loss last week, and Minnesota coming off 2 straight victories. Michigan and Iowa. Minnesota's not winning 3 straight games. I feel very confident in saying that. Minnesota is not winning 3 consecutive basketball games in the Big Ten. It's not happening. And they're not beating Oregon. I don't care the travel. And of course, we're still setting up for that big time game, the worst of the worst in the Big Ten. Yeah, Nebraska's pretty horrible right now, but still no. The worst of the worst in the Big Ten is still Minnesota and Washington. February 1st, you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be an extravaganza here on the channel. I've been hyping up that game for months now of just the 2 crap teams in the Big Ten. Unfortunately, Minnesota continues to win games, so it just might be a day where we completely crap all over the University of Washington and their basketball program. Hey, Osabar's trying, kind of. Yeah, he had a good game, good first half against UCLA, fell apart in the second half. Shout out to Adai Mara, man. Mara's a monster for UCLA. They were doing that without Bilodeau, too. I mean, my goodness. If Bilodeau plays, by the way, UCLA covers that easy. It is what it is. Garbage time 3. Anyways, taking Oregon here. We're taking Oregon easily to go to Minnesota and win. Again, this Minnesota nonsense needs to stop. They had 2 Linsanity games, and Dawson Garcia is that guy. Again, he's the reason they beat Michigan at home in Minneapolis, obviously, right? That near half-court buzzer beater in overtime to give Minnesota their first Big Ten victory, and they go to Iowa and win back-to-back. Dawson Garcia with 27 in the Michigan game, 20 in the victory over Iowa. Yes, again, Garcia's a good basketball player, man, averaging 19 and 7.5. He's great. The rest of the team's not. They're still not. The rest of the team doesn't stack up to what Dawson Garcia does for the basketball team. We're talking about Mike Mitchell. We're talking about Lucy Patterson, Parker Fox. Good players, but they don't support Garcia well enough. And when they do, that's when they win games, but it's not consistent enough. Oregon is the much more consistent team and the all-around better team. again, they don't got, and I'll be honest with you with Oregon. Again, they don't have one guy where you look at it. I say this all the time with Oregon. There's not one big star on this team. There's not one guy in Oregon where it's like, oh my goodness, we gotta watch out for him. It's not like they have, oh, they got a Cooper Flagg, they got a Dylan Harper on this team, or an Ace Bailey, right? They don't have an elite guy who's gonna go to the NBA next year in the top 10. I get that. But it's an all-around effort. Nate Biddle has his nights sometimes. Shellstad, TJ Bamba, like, again, it's always a different guy for Oregon that's going to lead them in scoring, it feels like, but that's fine. They have the all-around better team. They're not dependent on one player like the Golden Gophers are, because ultimately that's how it feels like Minnesota plays a lot of the time. It's Dawson Garcia. Garcia gets in foul trouble, we're screwed. Then we're forced to throw up shots with Lucy Patterson, with Mitchell, with Parker Fox. Trust me, we've been down this rabbit hole a million times with Minnesota this season. I don't think there's a team honestly, I don't think there's a team we've picked against more on the channel so far this year than the Golden Gophers. I think they always show up on the channel, but for good reason. If we're getting a spot where we only need Oregon to cover 4.5 points against Minnesota, I'm taking it. Guys, I get it. They've played competitive games on the road this season against Ohio State, against Penn State. They only won both those games by 2-1 respectively. But the thing is, again, it's different playing Penn State, who I know has been crappy at points this year, and same with the Buckeyes. But guys, Minnesota's still on a different level of bad. 2 victories doesn't mean that Minnesota's back. They're not. They won 2 games, sure. They somehow beat Michigan, but hell, we just saw what happened when Michigan went to West Lafayette. So that's, again, impressive, sure, but not like, oh my goodness, crazy impressive. And then Iowa, I mean, it's Iowa, whatever. Like, I don't care, you know? Oregon is yet to have a signature road victory in the Big Ten this year. They're still looking for it. Right? USC 8-point win, Ohio State 2-point win, Penn State 1-point win. Again, those are good victories. And actually, signature is not the right word. A dominant road victory. They haven't gotten that just yet. This is where they get it. Against Minnesota, a team they know they can smash, and I think Oregon puts it all together against the Golden Gophers. Again, Oregon is not a one-man team like Dawson Garcia is here in Minneapolis. No, it's an all-around team effort. Oregon is the better all-around team, and the Ducks will do it on the road here against Minnesota. They'll win the basketball game, and they will cover the 4.5 points as well, again, in Minnesota. Let's go on to our 7th best bet of the video as we go to San Luis Obispo, California, where we have got the Cal Poly Mustangs hosting the Long Beach State Beach. Don't care who wins the basketball game. Don't give a damn. Do not care. I think it's playable for Long Beach State, and I'll tell you why it's playable. But the pick here, and I think it's the first time we've taken an underdog today. We've been taking a lot of favorites, but paid off yesterday, right? 5 favorites, 5 victories. The reason why we're taking Long Beach State plus 6.5 is because Cal Poly, guys, has not won a game in the Big West since 2022. That's a long time. 2022 is the last time Cal Poly won a game in the Big West. Okay, the game being even odds, I get, sure. But the fact that they're 6.5-point favorites at home, a team that hasn't won in 3 years in the Big West? Nah, come on now. I get it. Long Beach has been horrible this year. They just have. Devin Askew's here, and Devin Askew's the entire team. TJ Wainwright performs, but Askew, it's crazy this guy's still playing college basketball, I'll be honest with you. This is a guy who was dominant at Cal in 2022. Guy was at Kentucky, at Texas, and just, he's dealt with some stuff. But now here he is at Long Beach. Great. It's the most games he's played since his sophomore year at Texas in 2021. Askew has risen to the occasion. Again, he's not playing in the SEC no more, the Big 12 or the Pac-12 / ACC, whatever you want to call it. He's playing in the Big West now, but he's done his job for the Beach this season. He's been their leading scorer. He leads them in assists. He facilitates the offense. And again, he does everything that they need him to do. Askew, again, averages 17.5 points a game. And yeah, some nights it's not good enough for Long Beach because Long Beach is bad. I'll say it. They are. Guys, this team started the year 1-8 with their only victory being Laverne. They lost to San Jose State big time, UTEP big time, Fresno State they lost to. Yeah, they were bad to start the season. But then they went randomly on a 5-game winning streak, beating Cal State Fullerton, beating Hawaii, beating USD, beating Pepper down the road, La Sierra, who cares? And then again, they pick up Big West play. They lose to the cesspool in UC Riverside, or they lose at home to the cesspool. The cesspool got brought to Long Beach. They lose to Riverside. They go to Cal State Bakersfield, lose. They go to Davis and win, though. Guys, Davis is better than Cal Poly. They just are. UC Davis is a better team than Cal Poly. They are 6-3 in Big West play this year, and Long Beach State went on the road and beat Davis. Then they lose to UCSD. Don't care. UCSD's great. Cal State Fullerton, okay, that's bad. That was Cal State Fullerton's first win in Big West play this year, and the game was at the beach. And then they go to Cal State Northridge and lose. I don't care. CSUN's not bad. That's fine. But you know who's performed recently very well for the beach? It's TJ Wainwright, right? The last two outcomes for Long Beach, not great, losing to Fullerton, losing to Northridge, but Wainwright, 31 points in the Fullerton loss, 27 points in the Northridge loss. So if you combine that from what Askew sometimes can give you, hell, again, Devin Askew, 32 points in the victory over the UC Davis Aggies. If you can combine what TJ Wainwright and Devin Askew do, it's going to be tough for Cal Poly to beat them. That's why I'm so surprised Poly, a team who hasn't won in the Big West since 2022, are minus 320 favorites. I get it, the beach isn't that good this year, but Cal Poly's not very good. Guys, Cal Poly's 0-8 in the Big West this year. They've won 6 games all year to Menlo. Menlo's got a basketball team? Wait, what? They do? Oh, they're D2. That makes sense, because I was like, really? Anyways, they beat Menlo, Seattle University, Eastern Washington on the road, probably their best one. Oh no, I forgot to beat Stanford. They did beat Stanford. Which doesn't make sense, because Stanford just went to Chapel Hill and won the other week. And they beat Florida State. Cal Poly goes to, nobody shows up to the games in Palo Alto, but still they beat Stanford, and they proceed to not win another game for the rest of the year. Well, they beat Denver, but other than that. So they beat Stanford, and then, because this makes sense, they lose to Davis, they lose to Cal State Northridge, they lose to San Jose State, they beat Denver, then lose to Omaha, lose to UCI, lose to Hawaii, lose to UCSD, lose to UCSB, lose to Davis, and lose to UCI again by 30 points. That was a week ago. We faded Cal Poly back then when UCI was what? 14.5 point favorites, 13.5 point favorites, and now we're gonna fade Cal Poly again. We get what? How many points? We get 6.5 points with the beach, and I'm not saying the beach is all that great. No, don't take this the wrong way. I think the beach is horrible. I just think Cal Poly's 10 times worse. Guys, you know the amount of pressure there is on Cal Poly for this game? They are minus 320 favorites. If they can't beat the beach, when the hell are they going to be favored to win another game this year in the Big West? Probably March 6th is their next chance when they get Cal State Fullerton at home. Probably they're not beating Cal State Bakersfield on the road. It's not like the Roadrunners are great, but they're not going there and winning. They're not going to that damn cesspool and winning. They're just not. I got to give Hargis a lot of praise. Hargis is a great basketball player, but they're not going to the cesspool and beating UCR. They're not beating Hawaii. They're probably not going to Cal State Fullerton and winning. I just don't think their first win comes on the road. They're not going to CSUN. They're not beating UCSD at home. They're not going to beat when UCR heads to St. Louis Obispo. They're not going to go to UCSB and win. They're probably not beating Bakersfield at home. So yeah, their next chance is March 6th, their second to last game this year, when they play Cal State Fullerton at home. You know how much pressure is on Cal Poly to win this game? They are minus 320 favorites. Even if they do win, they're not winning by more than 6 points. Come on now. If they win, it's going to be by 2, 3. It's going to go down to the wire. It's going to be like, oh my goodness, guys, they're going to storm the court at SLO. If people actually go to those games, I don't know. It's going to be a miracle if Cal Poly can win this game by more than 6.5 points. Long Beach is bad, but Cal Poly is worse. Give me a Long Beach stay on the road to cover 6.5 points. Don't care who wins. I will laugh, though, if it's Long Beach State. Plus 260, I think it's playable. I wouldn't play it myself. I'm not going to play it myself. I'm going to play plus 6.5 instead. But I think plus 260 will play. I think it will play. But I wouldn't do it personally. Well, I'm not going to do it personally. You can. I just, whatever. Anyways. We stay in California. San Jose State. At home taking it on Wyoming. So this game's at 4:30. The last one was at 2, so you can watch that game in full. And now we can focus our attention here to San Jose State and Wyoming. Yeah. You might be thinking to yourself, why the hell are we talking about San Jose State basketball again? Well, guys, there's money to be made with San Jose State. If the Spartans have showed us anything this year, is that they can kind of win at home. I think they play better at home. I think that's what I'm looking for. right? A 2-point loss at home in San Jose to Boise earlier in the year. They did get blown out by Colorado State at home. We're not going to talk about that. A 7-point loss at home against Utah State, who was ranked at the time. A win over New Mexico at home. And then a win on the road at Air Force. We got that one right, by the way. Just saying. San Jose State's coming off that loss against Nevada. It's okay. I don't think they're bad. They're not. I don't think they're as bad as Wyoming. Wyoming's won some games, though. I don't know. Wyoming's victories are Nevada at home, Air Force on the road, and then UNLV on the road. Air Force is horrible, doesn't count. UNLV on the road, good win. I'll give them that. And then Nevada at home, they win. It's just the thing is, Wyoming's so low scoring. They've scored 70 once, I think, in Mountain West play this year. They have once. They've scored over 70. They don't really score all that effectively. And honestly, San Jose State doesn't either. But it's a very winnable game for SJSU. Not because the crowd's going to be rocking. There's going to be nobody at this game. The tickets are like $2, and I don't want to go. I'm not going to make the trip out to San Jose to watch this. Even though the trip is like 15 minutes. I'll watch it on my TV, I guess. No, I'm watching Tennessee Auburn, I'll be honest with you. But here, I'll break down San Jose State for you, because I've gone to these games before. I know this team fairly well. Josh Uche is their best all-around scorer. Will McClendon shows moments of greatness like he did in the New Mexico game. Tried to foul bait for a 4-point play, didn't get it. Instead, hits a 3 to take the lead for San Jose State, so McClendon can shoot it. Robert Viola has come up big time recently for San Jose State. He's had back-to-back really good games. I wouldn't say really good, but the New Mexico game was great for him. He got Nelly Jr. Joseph in foul trouble in that game because of how well he's playing in the post. You get Donovan Yap, who can work it as one of their guards, and then you get their other starter in Latrell Davis, who's a very inconsistent player. But when Latrell Davis is on, Davis is really good. He's a British player from, obviously, England, but he's a sophomore. Latrell Davis will have his nights where he will completely score. Like the UNM game, he hit the buzzer beater for San Jose State against New Mexico, obviously. He scored 12 in the Nevada game. When Davis is on, he can shoot, but he'll also have games where he completely does nothing. Like the UNLV game, he only played 7 minutes, but still 0 points. He played 19 in the Air Force game. He basically just ran a Tony Snell line out there. He scored 0 points, 1 rebound, and 0 assists. But then the Utah State game, he scores 20. So Latrell Davis is a wild card, because if Davis has a good night, San Jose State's in a really good position, because he's like their third scorer on their team, like in terms of like third option. But if Davis is going and he's hitting his shots, then it just creates for so many more opportunities for Uche, for McClendon, for Viola down low, for Yap as well. Like it does make this team a lot better. I think he's a very important piece of this team, I'm gonna be honest with you. For Wyoming, they're a one-man squad. If you've watched Wyoming this year, it's all Obi Ajbeem. Let's call him Obi. I'm definitely butchering his last name. He is their entire squad. This guy plays 35 minutes a night. Again, he sits for 5 minutes a game, if that. He averages 19 points a game. He is their senior point guard, and he does literally everything. He's the guy. I don't know who SJSU is going to put on him. Will it be McClendon? Will it be Latrell Davis? I don't know. Hell, they could put Uche on him. Yeah, they could definitely put Uche on him as well. I like how San Jose State's just kind of building a British, what am I looking for? Pipeline here into the Mountain West with both Uche and Davis. But yeah, it's just going to be all dependent on if they can stop Obi or not. Again, Obi's a very good scorer. He's averaging 19 this year in his first year with the Wyoming Cowboys. Beyond Obi, though, this team's not that great. Jordan Nesbitt, Kobe Newton, these guys can score, but I wouldn't rely on them to win basketball games. So it all comes down to Obi. He's led this team in scoring pretty much every single night, but 2 for the Cowboys this year. So it's all dependent on him. I think San Jose State's the all-around better basketball team. Yeah, again, Wyoming is a one-man squad. I think the better all-around team does play in San Jose. So give me the Spartans here. I'd like San Jose State to win, and I'd like them to cover the 2.5 points as well at home. We've seen them beat New Mexico this year. We've seen them play competitive ball in San Jose against Boise. They are kind of a different team when they're playing at home in front of those no fans, and I do think they're able to get Wyoming in this spot here. The last time they were at home, again, they beat New Mexico. I was at that game. I think San Jose State does get Wyoming here. It feels like a game that's kind of on San Jose State's level. They can kind of handle Wyoming at home here. They're the all-around better team. They've got more scoring threats in the court than what Wyoming has. It's not even close. So give me the San Jose State Spartans at home to beat Wyoming, to pick up their 3rd win in Mountain West play so far this year. To the game of the day, right? Undoubtedly, the game of the day today in college basketball. We still have one more game after this to talk about, but this is the biggest game today. In Auburn, Alabama, we've got the Tennessee Volunteers going on the road to take on the Auburn Tigers. It is 1 versus 6. Undoubtedly, the best team in college basketball is the Auburn Tigers, so that means we are rolling with the Auburn Tigers. We're doing exactly that. I think it has to be the pick for this game, undoubtedly. This is the best team in college basketball. They've been doing it without their best player in John Broome. He's been questionable the last 2 games. I'm recording this video this is crazy how I'm recording this at 4 a.m. So this video is going out in 3 hours. But anyways, as of 4 a.m, the update on Broome is that he's questionable again. I'm reading an article from the USA Today that was posted less than 30 minutes ago. They're saying he is a game time decision. So I don't know if Broome's going to give it a go or not. Regardless, Auburn will win. They've been fine without Broome. They are better with Broome. But even without him, they have found ways to win in the 3 games they have not played with John Broome. And the last game they played at home, the only game they played at home without Broome, they won by 22 points against a ranked team in Mississippi State. Guys. You remember the last time Tennessee went on the road to play an elite basketball team in the SEC? What happened? Actually, yeah. Well, I won't say Vandy's elite. Yeah. They went to Florida. They lost by 30 points. They didn't perform. They're good at home. I'll give them that. We took them to beat Mississippi State earlier this week and cover that spread, and they hit that fine for us. But now they got to go to Auburn. They got to take on by far the best team in college basketball, the team that I'd pick right now to win the NCAA tournament easily. I'd pick Auburn. Yeah, Duke, Alabama, Iowa State. No, I'm picking Auburn right now, a healthy Auburn team. I don't see them losing to anybody. And yes, things get crazy in March. Anything can happen. I get that. But Auburn's by far the best team in college basketball, and it's not particularly close. This team's great, man. And they've found ways to score without Broome. Chad Baker-Mazara, Pettiford is able to score. Miles Kelly, like Denver Jones, Cheney Johnson, they have the guys who can score. So even without John Broome, which maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't, but if he plays, obviously we like the spread even more. But even if he doesn't, I think we're fine. Auburn's just that good at home, and they're that good in general. Yes, Tennessee's got players. Don't get me wrong. Chaz Lanier's good. Zakai Ziegler's good. Igor Milicic isn't bad. Jordan Gainey. Felix Okpara, there are guys that are, contributing and doing more than that for Tennessee, winning them games again at home against the Mississippi State Bulldogs earlier in the week. Yeah, but again, this reminds me so much of when they went to Florida. They were undefeated at the time. They're the number 1 ranked team in the country going up against another top 10 team on the road, and they got killed. We had Florida in that game for good reason. So now we have Auburn to take care of business at home against Tennessee. Again, Auburn is just the best team in college basketball, and it's not even close. There's just levels to this, guys. There's star. I think the top level of college basketball right now is Auburn and Duke. Those are the 2 best teams in college basketball. Duke's 16-2. They've beat Auburn. They've lost to Kentucky and Kansas. So that's tier 1. Tier 2 is Bama and Iowa State. And then it's kind of everybody else. There's good teams in college basketball, don't get me wrong, but when we're talking about the elite of the elite, those are the 4 best teams in the country. Where there's a difference, and I think there's a difference between Auburn and Duke. I think Auburn would beat Duke. At a neutral site, the game's in Auburn, and even if they played again in Durham, I think Auburn gets it. So again, I just think there's a difference between Auburn and the rest of the league, or the rest of college basketball, especially when the game's being played in Auburn. Sure, when they go on the road, they're competitive, right? Texas, South Carolina, Georgia, all close games they win. But when they're at home, man, blow out Missouri, blow out Mississippi State. They're different at home. They just are. They're a much different team. They are a very experienced team. They know how to beat top 25 schools, and they're going to do it right now, and they're going to blow out the Tennessee Volunteers. Auburn, 5.5. They're winning this game by double digits. Auburn's that good, with or without Broome. Auburn gets it done and covers the 5.5 points in the process. Let's go on to our final game of the video. It is an all Montana battle. Yeah, we go from Southeastern Conference basketball to the Battle of Montana. Montana State versus the Montana Grizzlies. Yeah, there are 7 o'clock games if you want something to end the night. UCI minus 11.5 against Hawaii. Yeah, UCI is coming off a loss, but they should be able to handle Hawaii, I think. Or, as much as I hate to say it, UC Riverside's going to beat Cal State Bakersfield on the road. They're going to. I can't believe I thought about putting it in the video, but then I have to praise UC Riverside for 5 minutes, which is I can't bring myself to do. So, yeah, the cesspool, though, will probably go to Cal State Bakersfield and win. They're the better team. Again, Hargress, baller. Can't hate on that guy. Barrington Hargress is a good basketball player. He creates his own shot, and he's very good. Anyways, we are picking Montana, though, at home to win the Battle of Montana against their in-state rivals in the Montana State Bobcats. So Montana State is in Bozeman, Montana, I believe. Not that I know where that... Actually, no, I think I know where that is. That is West Michigan, I think. I don't know where Missoula, Montana is. I think that's like... It's like southeast Missouri? Could be wrong. Missouri, Montana. I don't know. Regardless, doesn't matter. This is a big-time game, right? I mean, guys, what else do they have to look forward to in Montana? Just be honest. What else is going on in Missoula, Montana? Tell me. If you are from Missoula, Montana, or you've been to Missoula, Montana, tell me what goes on in Montana that's more important. Sorry, Missoula, that's more important than this basketball game. So the city better show up for this one. In-state rivalry game. And Montana, I keep wanting to say Missouri. Montana, I think, is the better basketball team. They're 5-2 in the Big Sky this year. Their losses are Northern Colorado and Idaho State. They got blown out when they went to Idaho State, but you know who else just lost to Idaho State? Oh, yeah, Montana State. They lost by 3 at Idaho State, which I know, again, you add up the points doesn't really work in our favor, but doesn't matter. This game's in Missoula. Come on now. It's at the Montana Grizzlies. Montana's wins in the Big Sky this year are Eastern Washington, Idaho on the road, NAU, Weber on the road, and then Idaho again. This is a Montana Grizzlies team that is led by Malik Moores, averaging 13.5, Money Williams averaging 13, Joe Pridgeon averaging 12, Kai Johnson averaging 10. I've been somewhat impressed with Montana since I watched them for the first time this year when I saw them play South Dakota State and they beat the Jackrabbits. I know, again, we haven't talked about South Dakota State Jackrabbits basketball in a while. I've actually stayed completely away from the Summit League right now because I just don't know what to do with the Summit League right now. Omaha is 6-0. SDSU, NDSU are 4-2. St. Thomas is 5-1. I thought about picking St. Thomas today against the Kansas City Roos, but I thought better of it. I thought about it, though. We'll get to some Summit League basketball soon, trust me. But South Dakota State plays North Dakota State next week. We'll probably talk about that game. In Fargo. We'll probably take the Jacks, but we'll see. I think Montana's the better team. I think they are. Montana State, 3-4 in the Big Sky this year. Losses to Idaho on the road, Eastern Washington on the road, Northern Colorado. Wins over NAU. Everyone can beat NAU, I think, kind of. Weber State, everyone can beat them too. And Eastern Washington, everyone can beat them too. Like, Montana State's wins really just gets the bottom feeders of this conference, and Montana's actually shown they can beat half-decent teams as well. Hell, again, Idaho, not a bad team. They're 4-3 in the Big Sky. 2 of their losses do come from the Montana Grizzlies. Montana State, the Bobcats, led by Brandon Walker, who's averaging 15 a night. Max Goncapolo, averaging 12. Other than those two guys, though, they have no one else who averages more than 8 points a game. I don't think Montana State's that great. I don't think they are. They have an all-around team effort, sure. Like, it can be random guys just pop off for the Bobcats, but the Grizzlies are the better basketball team. They've proven to be better this year in the Big Sky. And the game, again, is in Missoula. So, like, what goes on in Missoula? Don't know, but what better things do you have to do on a Saturday night in Missoula, Montana? Maybe go hunting? Maybe? I think that's big in Montana, I think. But, like, are you going hunting at 7:30 or 6:30, or are you going to Missoula to watch Montana versus Montana State? Just saying. We need Missoula to be fired up for this game, right? Give me Montana minus 2.5 to close the video here. Minus 140 in the money line if you want to take it. But yeah, we like the Montana Grizzlies at home to beat the Montana State Bobcats to win the Battle of Montana. So folks, thank you all for watching our 10 best bets for college basketball here on January 25th. If you haven't yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank you all for watching, and Mamba forever.